Good day everyone. Welcome to video 5, which is Conditional Formatting Part 2. In the previous video I showed the beginning of conditional formatting. I explained that a normal format, we could take a range of cells. So if I take this range, I can do a normal format. I can put a border around the range, I can give the range a color, and I can give the text font, or should I say the font color, a color. So this is not conditional, because if I wanted to do, I've taken sales, if I wanted to take all the salespeople, I would have to copy this format and go to the format painter and go to the next salesperson and format that. Take the next format painter and go to sales and format each and every occurrence of sales, with the danger, as I've done now, that I'm leaving out some options. So what I showed you last time is the first of all the normal formatting, and in the formatting I can take the whole range and take the conditional formatting and say, in the text that contains, and here you see that it comes up with Peter because I'm in the first cell. It then, if I select that, it then takes, it found Peter, and it found Peter in another cell, but in different fields. It found it in first name and it found it in last name. Had there been another Peter somewhere in another field, it would have found that as well. So the conditional formatting is normal formatting with a condition attached to it. In this case, find me all the ones, or format all the ones where the name Peter occurs, and format it in, and I've selected a predefined format. If I take my range, and I showed that last time, I take the conditional formatting off, and the other trick I showed, this was formatted in a normal format, so I've got to delete those formats manually. If I select any cell with no formatting, I go Format Painter and highlight all the formats, and it will be taken away. So basically that is what we did last time. I'm now going to show conditional formatting with a proper condition, with a variable condition. So let's determine what the condition is going to be. I can say, show me all the records where the department is IT or the department is HR. In fact, if we make this variable, we could put anything in. So I could use this field E2 to put the search criteria of what the condition is going to be in the database. So let's start. I'm going to select everything in my range, and we saw that last time. I've given this whole range a name called my range. I can now go to conditional formatting, and instead of selecting predefined conditions, I'm going to give it a new rule. I'm going to say I want to start a new rule, and we did have a look at that last time, but now I'm going to say use a formula to determine which cells are going to be formatted. So I'm going to select it, and here comes a format box where I can put in the rule that is going to be selected. And like in anything else in Excel, a formula, I'm going to put in a formula, and I'm going to, when I say formula, it says this is the format value where this formula is true, so I'm going to put in the formula. I'm going to say is equal to, because that is how Excel learns about a new formula. And I'm going to say where the department, so I'm going to click in the very first one. I don't want to click in the middle, although it shouldn't really matter, but I'm going to click the very first one. And now I have to explain something which we haven't done as such. It says I've clicked the first, I've clicked E5, and it comes up with $E, $5. These are anchor signs. The $sign is an anchor. It anchors, the first $sign anchors the E column. So the E column is anchored. I can't go to D, I can't go to F, I can't take anything else. It is anchored on E. All the values in E are going to be looked at. The second $sign is the anchor for the row. And now it is anchored on the 5th row, on row 5. But that is actually incorrect. I don't want to anchor it on this cell only. It must go through each and every one and determine if my criteria is true. So if I put IT, it must look here for IT, and if it's not, it must go there for IT, and if it's not, it must go to the next one for IT. And if this is IT, which it is, it will have to highlight the whole record. So I don't want to anchor it on the 5th row, so I'm going to take the anchor away. It is now anchored on E, and it is not anchored on 5, which means that it starts on line 5, then it will allow to go to line 6, then it will allow to go to line 7 and 8 and so forth. That is why I took the anchor away. So it's going to look at this cell, E5, then at E6, then at E7 and so forth until it comes to the end. And we're going to check that wherever we are is equal to E2. Now E2 again has an anchor. So we're going to say it is anchored on E, which is correct, and it is anchored on 2, which is actually correct, because each one must always check one specific cell, and that is E2. So for the criteria, the anchors are correct. It will always check E2. Even if I go down, it will still check E2. Later, when we start talking about relative and absolute copying, we will get more into detail here. We then have to set the format, because if it finds an IT, like in this case, what must the format look like? So we're going to format, and I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep a, let's make it this one and do nothing else and go OK. So it's going to have a little bar in it, and I'm going to go OK and say OK. And nothing happens. Confusion hits. Actually, it's not so confusing, because we said check each and every one and compare it to this cell. We haven't put anything in this cell. So I'm going to put IT, enter, and there we find that each and every cell that contains IT, and please note that it is not case sensitive, each one that contains IT has been highlighted with the format that I selected. So I went to formatting, I selected which format, and I selected a blue gradient bar, and that is what happened. I can now go to the same field and go HR, and we now see that all the HRs have been highlighted. I could also go to sales, and for each option that I have in the database, it will compare it to what I've put into this field. So sales, is the first one sales? Yes, it is. It highlights it. Is the second one equal to sales? No, it is not. And so it goes on for each and every item until it finds the next one that is equal to that, and it will highlight the whole record. and so forth. So not this one, not one, but it did this one. If I select anything else, so we tried HR, and it compares each and every line. If this line is equal to that HR, and again it is not case sensitive, it selects and highlights the record. That is a very powerful way of selecting data. Now we saw in the, I'm going to leave this for the time being, we saw in the previous video that I could select text that contains. Now contains, I'm going to take a step back here. If I put in SAL, enter, this field is not equal to that field, because this says SALES and this only says SAL. In the previous video we saw that I can in the whole database take text that contains. Now if I choose, let's say, SE, the weakness in this, if you select the whole database, is that it will select everywhere where I've selected SE. So this has got an SE in it. In the first name I've got an SE in it, which is the SE at the back. In last name I've got 2, and in the warehouse I've got an SE. So it went through the whole database in the whole range and picked up everywhere where I've got an SE. Now, although that is powerful for other reasons, in our selection with SAL, it is not confusing, because we are taking a whole cell. We're saying where this field, or every single field that we're going through, must be equal to this field. And if I make that sales, then it'll pick it up. So I'm going to delete that particular, this rule, and delete the rule. And I've shown that the difference between a cell containing something like SE or SM, or I can look for PE, which will pick up this Peter and will pick up the Peters. I've got another one somewhere, Peters there. It will pick up those ones. It will pick up this as well, PE. This has got a PE in it. So if you're looking for parts of text, you could use contains. It would be advantageous to use this one, the cell, and say cell text that contains. In our example here, it is a direct and absolute comparison. Sales must equal sales. The only thing that is not necessary here is the cap locks. So it doesn't look at the caps. That is basically the formatting of the whole record. We could do the same for the gender. For example, I could look for male and female, or I could look for a number. I can say where everybody is 54 or where everybody is 23. It will pick up everybody in the database where that condition is true. So I can put another condition here and compare each and every record to this field. Or I can put an M and an F in, an M or an F in here, and compare all these to the criteria that I put in the cell. That is up to the user. Each set of data is different, so you would have to determine what you would be looking for and what the conditional format must give you. Basically, that is conditional formatting. I thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video. Good day.